America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Everybody needs
It's a
to...
splendid evening.
It is a splendid evening. I'm tired of freezing my butt off, though.
Keeps you moving.
The meeting for the previous minutes, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from the previous meeting.
There we go.
I have some changes that I'd like to ask for.
Okay.
In the second main paragraph, at the end, that should also say that we amended the motion to include making payroll bi-weekly.
Okay.
On the second page, in public comments, at the end of the paragraph about Don Quick, where it says, declared the planning board workshop could not be held, blah, 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 it should say could not be done until the planning board reorganizes. That is under public comments on page 3, the paragraph that starts with Mr. Don Quick. On page 4, under tax, item D, it should say, Penny informed that she had looked into getting a tax anticipation note. And at the end of that paragraph, it should say additional banks would be contacted. At the end of the planning board section, beneath that, where we're talking about the municipalities that we're communicating with, it should say Ms. Hendricks was to attend the Milford Borough meeting to further the conversation with the borough. On page 5, at the end of the first paragraph, the only way to stop fraudulence, that's not exactly what was said. The only specific policy they recommended, but they would be offering a workshop at their upcoming conference. And she indicated that she wanted the board to adopt more such policy measures this year. In the paragraph underneath that, midway through the paragraph, able to raise tax by $500,000, but to go any higher, it would have to go through referendum for, in this being for EMS service. So at the beginning of that, it should say, it would have to, for EMS services. And for the power pass above that, Penny made a motion for the township to purchase the power pass, and it was approved. That's missing.
Okay, with those corrections.
With those corrections, ready for the vote?
Yep.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Treasurer's report, please.
After the last meeting, I received $725 from sewage, 75 cents from right to know requests, $1,582.95 from Pike County Tax Claim Bureau, $765.70 from real estate taxes, $950.60 from real estate transfer tax, $5,391.81 from zoning, and $400 of reimbursed from art consulting.
Okay. What was the zoning? That's a large check. It was permit.
CGI.
Thank you, Shalana.
You're welcome.
Okay, the last couple of weeks, we've had a couple storms, nothing real serious. We've had them without problem. We had one sander we had to replace some bearings onto it. The salt just kind of ate them right away. But we got that, and everything's up and running again. And it looks like another storm this Saturday, same thing we had last Saturday. So sleep nice. And we got all the potholes patched. In between it. Between the
Snowflakes
bad
in the ice.
rain and stuff. So we got it done.
Mr. Sean.
We had a few notice of violations that went out. One was for looks like an abandoned vehicle in a right of way. One for a conversion of a single-family dwelling to a two-family dwelling, which was found by a records request from an appraiser asking if we had anything on file for a two-family. So we notified the owner, we're waiting to hear back from them. There would be another zoning violation, but I'm letting the building department go through first because they found it initially. There was an above-ground pool that was installed with no permits. And the applicant came in and picked the applications up last week. So we're waiting for those to be turned back in.
Hey, public participation number 1. Hi,
Good evening,
how are you?
everyone. Nice to see everyone. Happy New Year. Captain Bell, from Milford Fire Department, for the January report.
Thank you.
Last year's run totals. So, kind of a busy year. Total fire responses and EMS dispatches was about 1,518. So, pretty busy. On the fire side, the total responses were 325. As you can see, about 21% of that was actually in Milford Township. Again, with the majority of our responses going into Damon Township. As far as equipment goes, we have received a fire grant in the amount of a little under $13,000 from the Pennsylvania Office of State Fire Commission. And this grant is going to be used to purchase equipment to establish technical rope rescue team. This is to supplement. Currently, we rely on the Park Service. Anytime there's an issue out in the park, we have to wait on them. Sometimes there's some extended response times out of them. So we're going to be working with them. We've also been talking a little bit with the county of perhaps doing a county team, but we're working on that going into this year. We'll have some discussion. Additional supplies purchased off of the grant will be additional SCBA masks, which include thermal imaging integrated into the masks. We have a couple of them now. When we are doing a fire response, if we're in a fire, it's not TV fire, you can't see when you're in there. We currently have handheld devices that we use to track temperature variances and to find people who may be in the fire. But with those devices, they're handheld, and when you have heavy smoke and your mask is fogging over from steam or whatever, it's very hard to see that display. So the new masks have it integrated within the mask, so it's a clear vision, nothing to fog over, and it's right there outside the bank of smoke because it's inside your mask. We can see very clearly, and it helps us do a rapid search and extinguisher. On the apparatus side, our heavy rescue is currently out of service. Went out beginning of December. We're expecting to actually be back in service within a couple of months, early 2020. This is a 20-year-old apparatus, and it's receiving a new cabin chassis from Pierce Manufacturing in Wisconsin. We decided to go this route. It saves a little bit of cost. With the cabin chassis, new motor, new cab, everything, we're refurbishing our toolbox, the body of the actual truck. Having it completely refurbished, we're going to reuse that. It actually saves a substantial amount, a couple $100,000 off the bill by just reusing this piece that is still very functional. In the meantime, we're dispatching our Engine 2 for rescue responses, motor vehicle accidents, those type of things. And we've outfitted our support vehicle for rapid intervention teams, which is firefighter rescue, and also specific type of rescue calls like ice rescue. Our smaller support vehicle is going to be running out on that. On the EMS side, for last year we had total dispatches was 1193. Our responses was 662. About 200 of those are inside the Milford Township area, about 17% of them. The difference between the dispatch and the total is due to, of course, the kind of nationwide shortage of EMTs. During 5 days of the week, our squad is out of service for most of the daytime. The evening times, the night times, we have people to respond, but when everybody's working, due to the lack of volunteers across the county, across the country, we're having difficulty responding, so we're splitting and sharing our duties with Westfall Township is covering, Damon Township is covering, where we cover them in the evening and they cover us during the daytime. We kind of work it out that way. When we do have crews, we're in response 95% of the time. When we are available and when we are in service, which is pretty much after 6 o'clock during the week, and then of course all through the weekend. Again, with those responses, most of them being out in the township. We did receive EMS grant award a little over $5,000 from PA State again. And this grant is going to be used to utilize purchase of ballistic protection for our EMS crews. Unfortunately, society's moving in that direction a little bit more. We want to make sure that our EMS personnel are protected going into situations with delayed response time from law enforcement and those kind of things. Little added protection that we're going to be adding for those crews. The Township crews are doing the same thing. And we're also purchasing some equipment to enhance safe transportation of pediatric and infant patients. They really require special handling and care in the back of the ambulance, so we need a lot more equipment to make sure that they're transported safely. Other than that, we're available. Thank you very much. I will comment on the roads. They've been excellent this year. The few storms that we've had. This very past storm, we had 0 accidents that we responded to each year. The last one was convenient. We are out all times of the night usually, and you can see the line when you cross into Milford Township, especially from the borough. I thank you guys on the road for that one. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Mike, is there
Mike.
anything specifically that we can do to help you or that you need from the township?
At this time, we're pretty good. We're doing what we can do. The biggest shortage affecting all of the agencies across the county, across the state, across the country is the lack of volunteers. So we're always trying different ways to bring more people in and to get them trained. But that's the shortage, and it's affecting everyone, unfortunately. And the few people that we do have that are still in service are really getting run ragged. But they're out there, and we're doing our best to make sure we're there when we need them.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank you very
service.
much. Okay, anybody else? Okay, correspondence, please.
I received another thank you note from I Come to Developmental Center. They all signed it. It's very beautiful. For Share Winter Events 2020, an application from Moon Valley Falls Homeowners Association for building use. It's in the agenda. And this one is also in the agenda. It's a correspondence from Brian Snyder. He is contacting to schedule a PennDOT Connects meeting to go over some projects. And this one is from Mr. McNara. He asked me to go through the minutes to look at the appointments and removals of planning board members. And this one is another correspondence from Mr. McNara. He said that in the principle of the planning commission that each planning commissioners have a staggered term and at least one planning commissioner would be reappointed each year. Certificate of liability insurance for Ed Nichols, custom builder. This one is a resignation letter from Kevin Nearing. He resigned from planning board, and that's all.
Okay, thank you, Shahana.
You're welcome.
Need a motion to accept this resignation.
Oh, we do, we go with the old, okay. I'll make a motion to accept Kevin's resignation on the planning commission.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Old business, planning members. I think, got it down?
Well, I think Shahana's done a wonderful job of going
She's
back
gone
through
through quite the mess.
all the appointments and the removals. And based on, and we just talked about this right before, but and I'm just gonna go through this briefly. I don't wanna take up the whole meeting. But it looks like in 2015, Mr. Strang was appointed to a 6-year term. That would take him to 2021.
Okay.
Okay, so he would be appointed through 2021. Mr. Willis was appointed for a 6-year term in January of 2016. His term would run through 2022.
Okay.
Ms. Canals, who has previously resigned, and Mr. McCarthy now has her term. Her term would have ended in 2023. Mr. Di Lorenzo, who took over Mr. Rosanelli's term, his term would end in 2024, and with the resignation of Mr. Neary, who took over Mr. Greening's term, which was actually runs till 2025, that you're going to have to make an appointment on. So
Okay.
you're one member short.
Okay,
You
and
have,
then,
you have Mr. Stroyan, Mr. Willis, Mr. McCarthy, Mr. Di Lorenzo, and you have one member short.
and right now for applications, we do have some for the planning board.
Okay, I had some, yes. I didn't bring it.
You had more than one?
Yes.
Oh, I was
And
gonna
Matt
make a.
Contreras, right?
Huh?
And Matt Contreras, the last time it was read, it was Don, Peggy, and Matt Contreras.
Matt Contreras is there.
That is what I remember. And, Tony, you didn't specify what the term was for Pat McCarthy when you were reading through the list,
2023.
2023.
Yeah, he's filling the unexpired term of Viola.
Okay,
Can I just ask, Tony, how were Kevin and Ray notified after the initial action by the board last year? Did that
By
letter come
certified mail
from your office or from our office?
from my office.
Okay, so we took action at the last meeting to reinstate. I didn't see a copy of the letter. Did a letter go out to them?
I did send a letter.
Okay, so I make a motion that we have Tony send a letter, certified mail to Kevin and Ray to let them know officially that they've been reinstated, and to note in those, in that correspondence when their terms will expire.
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
On that note,
You do have one open term, and you don't have any alternates. Previously, you had appointed 2 alternates in case people were out of town or whatever.
okay.
Well, at this time, I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Peggy Emanuel as a member of the planning commission.
And I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Welcome, Peggy.
Congratulations, Peggy.
He's up here now, too.
Yeah. Okay.
As far as alternates.
And that would be to a term expiring in 2025.
2025, you're
Thank
with
you.
us. Thank you. Okay. Now, do we wanna just call it a day and we'll move on to new business?
Yeah.
What about the alternates,
We got-
back now?
We're gonna put an ad out.
And.
Gonna put an ad in the paper.
I just want to ask Pat, at one point I asked for your statement of financial interest, and the township office didn't have it on file. As the elected auditor, that's something that you should have on file,
We
and
have the letter.
Okay.
if there's some language in the Ethics Act that says that people shouldn't be entering into new offices without having filed that. So that's something that I would ask that that you address. You can get a copy, I'm sure, from someone.
Okay. Moving on to new business. The Santos property project control. Mr.
Also brought the
Francis?
boss man with
I
me,
see
so
you
he
brought
can
some.
he can do most of the
Sorry.
talking, so.
Okay. Good evening. We've been here before. My name is Jim DePetris. My associate partner is Doug Olmsted, and my daughter Jamie DePetris is here. For, I guess, 2.5 years, we've been under contract with the Santos family that my good friend Dave Chan brought to us. We saw this as a great opportunity to develop a quality retail mixed-use project. Our home base is in Plymouth Meeting, but our really area of business is in Monroe County. And we've done some really good projects there, and we have some great references that we can share. But our vision for this project has been to do a mixed-use project that would have retail and service stores, restaurants, which are needed here along Route 209, and basically have a traffic light, provided for the community, kind of do a new access point for the municipal building that would be shared access with the lights, so that would make it safer for everyone. A lot of parking, and a really high quality design, something that people would say, that's not a strip center, that is a good looking retail project. We also envision some mixed use, and at one time we had proposed well over 100 units. I think our original count was 150. We lowered to 100. We do like the idea that people can live together, walk to their coffee store, walk to their restaurant. So in this secondary area of the project, we are envisioning 2 buildings of approximately 25 apartments, residential units each, that will be done in a high quality design that will be 50 units. So a far lower number than what we were proposing before, with a third building that could be either a brew pub, restaurant, or perhaps a medical, office building. And this facility is being designed with on-site sewage, located in this area of the project. We're very persistent. We don't give up. We do believe that this site should be developed for Milford Township in a high-quality manner. The site is zoned for many, many uses. The Santos family has believed in us, and we continue to maintain control of the property. But someday someone will buy this property, and maybe the uses that would be proposed are not as attractive as what we would bring. We've been following things closely, and I think now we're at a point where we need to really focus here in January 2020. It's a new year, to work with your planning commission, to work with you, the supervisors, to get something done here. Because we just can't go on indefinitely. The Santos is a wonderful family. They have a right to, this is their retirement. They have a right to capitalize on all their hard work that they've done on this property over the years. We're committed to getting it done, but we're also committed to doing it in such a manner that people who will come here say, this is a quality project. We're willing to work with the township on the architecture, on design standards, so that you will be, pleased with what you see here, in terms of the development. Because we can all look at various buildings that just aren't, something that people will be proud of. But there's a lot of uses that can be brought here that will be an enhancement, to the area. So we wanted to just kind of reintroduce and reinforce that we're here, that we want to move this forward. We want to work with your planning commission in open arms, in a very transparent manner, to get something successfully done here. I'm happy to answer any questions, but I was really here just to make that statement.
Thank you.
The layout that you have listed on there, could you give us an idea of the percentage of the property that would be commercial versus residential?
Okay, so Doug, why don't you take through that?
Sure, leave the easy questions for me, right? It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just need to.
Yeah.
To answer your question, I can't give you an exact percentage, but I mean, just looking at the plan, right now, it's roughly about a 1/3, 2/3, with 1/3 being the residential and 2/3 being commercial. Whereas I think the previous plans, when we were talking about a lot more residential units, you know, it was skewed to a 50/50 or possibly even more for the residential, but that roughly looking at it would be about 2/3, 1/3 at this point in time. But as we work with the planning commission, as this plan gets flushed out and gets changed and massaged based on what takes place at the planning commission, obviously those percentages can change as we go forward. So,
And so you
and
will be-
congratulations for sitting on that side of the table.
Thank you. So you will be making a similar presentation at the planning commission meeting this month?
Yes.
Yes, and look forward to working with them, but we did want to come back and kind of reintroduce ourselves, just to let you know that, you know, our goal is to work with the planning
You're
commission.
still here.
Based on the guidance that the board had provided to the planning commission in terms of trying to work with it, so that we're not thinking about what may or may not happen as far as central sewage is concerned, and how we can develop the property just dealing with on-site sewage disposal. And we have done substantial amount of testing for both stormwater and for sewage, and we're still going through that process to help us fine-tune exactly what can be done from a development standpoint.
Have you ever thought about doing condos or townhouses instead of apartments?
We thought about it a little bit, but I would tell you that the multifamily market is very strong today, and the people who will rent here, these units are not lower end. They will rent for anywhere from $1,300 to $1,600 a month in rent, and we've done some market analysis to determine that.
If the people who live here can't afford that kind of rent.
Well,
But we have the
Well,
townhouses and condos in the
yeah, well-
area, and I don't think they last at all once they're on the market.
yeah.
That's right.
We can,
Well-
if you want townhouses, I've had clients coming up 2-3 days in a row before one opened up and they finally got one.
I mean, $1,600, $1,700, $1,800 a month for an apartment is above and beyond anybody that works here locally.
Want to bring people in from outside. They want to move to this area and stay there, that are making more money in New
No,
Jersey.
exactly.
No,
I mean, we're doing a much larger project in Smithfield, on Route 209, south of here, by
But
30 miles.
there's a lot more work in
Yeah.
Smithfield
Well, I know,
Township
but
and
we're
Rural
also
County,
building-
and
we're
there is
also
in Pike
building-
County.
We're also building 250 down there, so,
Right.
but you're right, there is people that, work in New York and in New Jersey, that this is a very attractive area to live, so, we're very confident in 50 units being able to rent, or we won't build it, we'll do something else.
Will you be staging the build out? Will you literally build everything all at one time, or are you gonna build sections of
But
it
I
commercial?
think we would build one of the apartment buildings and then the other one, but the retail we would build.
I see.
And we don't start any commercial projects until we have substantial pre-leasing. So when we break down, 12 months from now, we'll be, at least half leased to be able to justify the development.
Jim, how many
12 months from now.
commercial buildings do you anticipate having on the property?
How many buildings?
How many commercial?
Well, the way this is shown here is you got 1, 2, 3, 4.
4?
Four commercial.
And the one building is a larger building that is designed for, it could be 3 or 4 rental units.
Inside that building?
Mr. Petros, I think, Fred, do you still have a question?
Yes, I certainly do.
Okay.
So, gentlemen, thank you for the presentation, for giving us this information. But, after a year, we started this last January, and we've gone round and round. And I'm absolutely amazed that you come back and propose apartments. I mean, what are we doing? I mean,
We never said-
you understood that the residents of the borough and the township do not want apartments. Townhouses we all said, I could be home watching Jeopardy right now. You say townhouses, Fred, hey, I'm out of here, okay? It's not that big a deal. Now you have people that are vested in the community, okay? They're gonna be a tax base, and I don't understand your partner. What is the?
Other
what
than
is the-
fear,
what is
there
the
is no
advantage-
substantial
What is
reason
the-
to justify your
What
statement.
is the advantage to DeSantis for making apartments instead of townhouses?
Because the market, the financial market is very strong in that area. So we won't build these until we come in with a professional market study that justifies this. We're gonna make that part of our presentation.
That's great. So
Okay.
to Mr. Williams' point, 1,300 to 1,600, I don't see it. Not.
Well,
And
our study
people
will either,
coming here from Jersey, I'm not seeing it.
well, our study
People
will
coming
support
from
it,
Jersey,
or we won't build it. And perhaps you're right,
yeah, I may well. be,
perhaps you're right.
Right, so would you reconsider, would you reconsider townhouses instead of apartments?
Based on our market study, yes. Based on where our market study goes, absolutely. Because we're not gonna do something and, make a bad investment.
Okay.
Okay.
Folks, let's keep it simple. Okay, one person talking at a time will help us all, and it will help the people who watch the video later.
Did you have a question? or-
No, I just want to scream and yell.
Okay.
No, no.
Okay.
No, but I mean, what these gentlemen are proposing is if they're gonna have something that's rentable between $1,300 and $1,600 a month, only those people that are truly serious are going to go ahead and rent something like that. And the people that are willing to pay $1,300 to $1,600 a month, that's their parking in the city.
Thank you.
So they will come up here, and I'm sure that they will treat the place well. They will treat our area well. They will be very, very community friendly, or whatever you want to call it. Providing that I know these gentlemen have been trying, and I've been on both sides, but what they're proposing just doesn't seem like it's really out of reach for people who like to come back and forth from the city to the state.
Who's to say it's
And
not
most
even
of the
a
things is that these people only stay here for the weekends when they come. You know, they live in the city during the week, they're up here for the weekends.
You can't assume these
I
things
asked
are
the chairman
seasonal
for the floor
rentals, they could be full-time.
when
No,
that was
well,
finished.
I'm saying, they could be full-time rentals, but they're only here for the weekend, and they live in the city during the week.
Folks, Penny gave me the floor, if you don't mind. So I'm just gonna put the statement out there that I don't think that it's appropriate for the township to be considering or discussing the rental prices or the prices, period. The township cannot enforce prices, it cannot have anything to do with prices, and if the price is the standing ground for how we're viewing things, I think that we could run into trouble with the law, and therefore I don't believe that it's an appropriate line of discussion for us to take at this table. And I just want to, and Tony, you can.
Penny, yeah, Rachel, just to add to that, I think Mr. DePetris and Mr. Olmsted are here showing what I would characterize as a sketch plan. They're going to,
Exactly what it says.
Right.
Sketch plan.
they're showing a sketch plan of what their intention is. You'll have to come to planning with an application and a plan. I'm sure you're gonna come originally with a sketch plan and discuss various things like lot coverage and
Sure.
stormwater and sewage and things of that nature that have to be ironed out at planning. But, you know, what your market study shows you as far as pricing, that is strictly your business.
It's
Okay.
irrelevant to us.
Right.
I think what he's trying to do is trying to show that it's not gonna be like the one lady was
It's not-
saying.
Correct.
Section 8 housing.
Yeah,
Right, I think
Well,
Well,
that's
it's
gotta listen.
inappropriate for
And
this
this
board
board
to have a
to-
conversation about what kind of housing it is in that regard. Price point or Section 8 or not Section 8, it's inappropriate for us to have that
Right, but I think-
conversation, and it needs to stop. we should not be entertaining that conversation. I'm sorry, folks, if that's where you want it to go.
Yeah.
It's going to get us as a community into trouble, and this board should not be having that conversation. And quite frankly, the project has to stand on whatever,
It's on that.
regardless of the
Yep.
price
Correct.
point. So that is not what we make decisions based on.
My
Penny, I
only-
know there's a hand in the back.
I see
My only
hands all over
question-
the place.
My only question though is that I'm presuming you're gonna come to planning next month with a sketch plan.
I don't even know, we will bring this plan,
Okay.
to the planning commission, but
Okay.
we understand, you're still going through the ordinance process. So this is a revised sketch plan based on what had been previously submitted to the township
Okay.
over a year ago, just as the next iteration based on where we saw some of the discussions going as far as the ordinance was concerned. And this was trying to meet some of that criteria. We're not saying that we're at the end point yet, but
Right.
it's part of the overall
So you're gonna be able
process.
to address like some issues like lot coverage and where you are
That-
at
that-
stormwater.
that is correct.
Yeah.
And it's our help that we'll actually be able to provide some of our input in terms of what we've dealt with in other communities in terms of how these ordinances was put together.
And I think the best way to do that is to have it presented at the planning commission. Let the planning commission have an opportunity to review it in conformity with our ordinances. And also, are you going to be proposing a mixed-use amendment? You're gonna leave that to the planning commission?
We will work with the planning commission in any way that they would like us to do it. We can certainly offer, proposed language and how to put it together that can be utilized or churn up and thrown in the trash, however you want to deal with it, but we can.
And Mrs. Doris, I think Mr.
I've
Strain has his
been
hand
trying,
up.
it's Kevin and I know Dave. Kevin, go ahead.
Well, I'm a little concerned. Mr. DePietris used the word transparency. And part of the issue with this whole situation has been, is there have been conversations between the developer and officials along the way outside of the meeting. And I'd like to suggest that there be no conversations except that open public meeting. And let's keep this straightforward. Where does the shared road to the township and this development come into the conversation when that's nowhere's ever been put on the deck before?
The only thing I could say with respect to that is something that's been shown, I think,
I
in
think
all
the
of the
first
sketches
meeting, yes.
that we've had on there. And again, this is only a sketch plan. It's
I'm
not in stone,
Let's
but
not get into the specifics. Let's get into the transparency issue.
The thought was that it's a health and safety whenever you can eliminate a road cut.
And I agree with that, and
That's
and
why
I
we
understand
proposed it.
that, but the transparency issue is the issue that I'm concerned with. That there be no discussions except at a public forum. Period.
I don't have a problem with that,
I don't have a problem with it either.
so it's fine.
Shouldn't be any discussion at all.
Yeah. No, that's fine. That's fine, Joe.
Hi, Karen. I think the assumption that there is no receptiveness to rental units from any residents in the area is a misnomer. I know that there have been very vocal people who are opposed, but on the other hand, we haven't really gathered any input from, personally, I have no problem with rental units myself.
With respect to everyone, and not to talk over you, Phyllis, we haven't given the applicant an opportunity to actually come and have a conversation. We're worrying about all the other things. We need to deal with this the way it comes to us, and then go to the speculation.
We agree.
Okay, and I know, Dave, you had your hand up. Did you have a question?
I was just going to make a comment that as far as the people that would rent these apartments, we have about 52,000 lots here in Pike County in developments of 15 lots or more. And of those 52,000 lots, there are 26,000 houses there. This has all been since the 1960s. I've seen it for the last maybe 10 years. There are a lot of people who are 75, 80 years old who live 7 or 8 miles from Milford on a nice acre lot and a nice development. When it snows, hopefully the person that plows their snow comes right away or whatever. But a lot of these people are reaching an age where they're saying to us at our office, you know, if we could sell our house and find a nice apartment to rent down here, we'd like to stick around here for another 5 or 10 years. The way it's looking now, we're just going to sell our house and we're going to be, you know, moving down to Myrtle Beach or whatever, and our kids and our grandkids from Jersey will come and visit us. I mean, my feeling is that out of the developments up there, if these gentlemen have 50 apartments, they're going to be rented by people who, to a great extent, are already here and they love it here. They came from the metro area, they love their churches, they love their social events, they love their friends, and they know a lot of people here, so they're going to want to stay here. Maybe they'll only rent an apartment for 3 years or 5 or 7 or 10 years, but just wanted you to know that there is definitely a demand for nice apartments, and it isn't for somebody to live there forever, it's just to live there for a few years.
Okay. Anybody else before we wrap it up? Okay. No.
Erica Burnett. So, Mr. DePetris, you were here last month, I believe, or maybe 2 months ago, and you said, you know, that you wanted to work with us and develop something that we would like here. You said yourself that it's an attractive area to live, and I think that's why many of us who've been coming here for a year now have been coming and saying, you know, we don't feel that maybe even 50 apartments might be what we want. I think, just to reiterate, I think townhouses would be nice, owned, you know, owner, buildings that are owned by residents here. You said condos, you said you did market analysis. You have done market analysis already, or you're planning to do it? And I'm just wondering if you're listening to Mr. Chant, who's saying that people want to sell their houses and move down here, because many people...
We do have a lot of respect for Mr. Chant, and we've done some of our own analysis, but again, we're going to employ a consultant that does these market studies, because in order for us to get financing, we have to have a study that supports the need. But we believe that there is a need.
Okay.
And I think we're showing our willingness to work with Milford because, you know, we started with a goal of a lot more, and we've cut that down to show that we're willing to really compromise to make something work in this community.
Well, yes, you have scaled it back because the original, you know, didn't fit into our community, and we appreciate that, but I still don't think you're listening. And I would like you to really consider what the people want for our area before you come to the planning board with an application.
Thank you, Erica. Okay? Are you still, Kevin?
I just want to remind everybody in the room that, and with all due respect to Mr. Chant, Milford Township down this little corridor only has a handful of properties to deal with. And we need to do what we're going to do here, do it right, that's all. And I think we just have to get out of all of everything else and focus on what we're doing. And I think we just need to all do it fairly in this same open room. That's all that I'm asking.
I agree with you, Kevin.
Very good. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks, guys.
One last question. So your market study obviously is not going to be done by the time you present to the planning board?
Okay.
The community planner has sent us a email in reference to PennDOT District 4 that has 5 projects coming up that is going to affect Milford Township. They want to have a meeting with the township supervisors. But the 5 projects is, here on Route 6 to Saltkill Creek, they're going to replace that bridge here. A lot of people that drive over that probably doesn't realize there's a bridge underneath the road. the Vandermark Creek.
Vandermark.
Yeah.
Vandermark Creek and the Sawkill Creek down there.
That's by the Shell station.
Yes.
That's gonna be interesting, isn't it?
Yes, that's gonna be very interesting.
Mhm.
And also, they're gonna be doing a interstate reconstruction project up on 84 again, which is going on now. It's just a continuation of that. I'm not sure what this phase 4 completing the connection is. I don't really know what that is. And the other project is a paving, phase 2 paving of Route 6, which I believe is gonna go from Route 84 up to State Game Lines 180, which is about 8 miles out of town. So I'd like to make a motion that we have Brian Steiner, the community planner, contact PennDOT and have them come to our March 2nd meeting at 6:30.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Take care of that.
again, we have the use of the meeting room by Moon Valley. I'm gonna assume that we have the insurance.
Yes.
Okay.
No, I don't have the insurance, I have the bond and the rent.
Huh?
They will give us the insurance.
They'll give us the insurance, okay. I'll make a motion to let Moon Valley Falls use the building February 19th, snow date February 23rd at 1 PM, and I guess, and then 7 PM for the February 19th meeting,
I'll second
which,
that.
with their insurance.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any other public participation? Call for an executive session, anybody?
I'd like to stay on an executive session.
Okay.
What's the executive session for?
Regarding personnel.
I'm not complaining.
No, this isn't our meeting.
Okay, it is,
Yeah, well,
okay, it is with great regret that I am accepting the resignation of Tony Magnata for the Planning Commission. Effective immediately. I guess I have to make a motion for that, or to accept it?
Yes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
don't anybody
All in
second?
favor? We tried.
We tried.
Okay. I make a motion that we pay the bills and adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Says Penny with an E.
And could I just have that